Hello, everyone. I am so sorry for the delay today, but thank you for being here for another episode of Break Into Law School. I'm Sydney Montgomery, and for those of you who don't know me, I am a law school admission consultant who specializes in working with first generation and minority law school students, law school applicants, really. So today we're going to talk about, is the October LSAT too late? Can you take the October LSAT and still apply early in the cycle? Now, for those of you that are watching on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, wherever you're watching, you know that I like to be 100% real with you. And I think a lot of times when we are thinking about whether to take the October LSAT or not, it's usually because some of our plans have not gone as we would have liked them to. Now, some of you, maybe your plan the whole time was to take the October LSAT, and that's okay. But for a lot of my students, they're signing up for the October LSAT, or they're wrestling with whether October would be okay because they did not do as well as they wanted to on the August LSAT, even though scores haven't come out yet. Maybe you just felt it in your bones. It didn't go very well, or June LSAT didn't go very well, so you plan to take October. Let me know in the comments if that's you, if October was your plan the whole time, or if October is sort of a backup plan. It can be really hard when plans don't happen as you want them to. I just moved, which is very exciting. I moved into my own space, and there are a lot of things that aren't going as according to plan. And it's been really hard because I'm a planner. So I had what I thought was a great plan of attack for this move. Okay, I would have the movers, I'd have the packers, everything would be set up really smoothly, and I would not miss a beat. It would not upend my entire life. And I have to say, it's been a little bit more difficult than I thought it would be. And I'm learning to roll with the punches. Part of that is why things were a little bit delayed today, because it can be hard to get used to a new space. It can be hard to get used to the way that things are set up or not set up. You think something's going to be in a certain place and then it's not. You think something's going to work a certain way and then it doesn't. And sometimes that can be how we feel with the law school journey. You might have started with a plan, a really good plan, a plan that you might have started in March or April. And now you're like, oh my goodness, my plan didn't really work like I thought it would. This process is taking a little longer than I thought it would. I'm a lot more stressed than I thought I would be, or I don't feel as confident as I thought I would be. And that can really cause some of you to pause. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, maybe things aren't going okay, and so I shouldn't apply to law school. Maybe that's what God's telling me, is that law school is not in the cards. Or I'm not good enough to apply to law school. Or my life is not together enough for me to apply to law school. Maybe some of you are thinking, well, if I can't get myself together now, how am I going to get myself together when school starts next year? Trust me, I feel you on that. I really do. It can be really scary when you're trying to take on something really big and things just aren't working the way that you want them to. But that doesn't mean that you should give up. It doesn't mean that you should quit. I cannot move back to where I was before. It just means that you have to approach things a little bit differently, and you might have to give yourself a little bit more grace, a little bit more space, a little bit more time. Sometimes the timeline that we have is unnecessarily aggressive. I make unnecessarily aggressive plans. Why did I think I could unpack my whole house in a week? I'm not sure. It seemed like a really reasonable thing to expect, especially since I was getting help. That was an unreasonably aggressive plan. Actually, it's fine if it takes 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even a month, God forbid. Life will go on. I will not die if it takes me a month to unpack my house. Similarly, I'm here to tell you that you will be okay if you had to push your LSAT exam from August to October. If you really wanted to be done with the LSAT, but you know in your bones that you can do better and you're thinking about registering for the October LSAT, the deadline to register for the October LSAT is August 25th, so it's right around the corner. It's next Wednesday. And I promise you will not completely ruin all of your law school plans if you have to take the October LSAT. I will let you in on a secret. You can take the November LSAT too and still go to law school. I promise it's okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about timelines. So today, in figuring out, is October too late? And if you haven't figured it out by now, the answer is no. No, October is absolutely not too late. I want to leave you guys with 3 things. The first is I want to talk to you about timelines in general and how your timeline for your LSAT exams affects your timeline for your applications. The second thing I want to do is talk to you about the difference between the August, October, and November LSAT in terms of timing and application success. The third thing that I want to do is I want to tell you what it is that you need to be mindful of if you are going to take this October LSAT. So, timelines in general. You've heard me say it over and over and over again that law school is on a rolling application cycle. What that means is that you want to apply early in the cycle for your best chance, especially if you are applying to very competitive schools. Now, I have a video that you can go back and watch, and I also have a blog post on my website, law.smontgomeryconsulting.com, or just smontgomeryconsulting.com/blog if you want to go straight to the blogs. There's a blog on application timing, and in that I break down 3 different areas of timing. There's early, there's on time, and there's late. And I think what happens is we just sort of forget about the on time bracket. We're just like, I want to apply early in the cycle. And then you're like, well, if I'm not applying early, I am late. You're like, not quite. If you don't apply early, you're on time, and on time is not the worst thing in the world. Is it better to apply early? Yes. And early is defined as September, October, maybe even the beginning of November, depending on your school list. But for every school, September and October is early in the cycle. There's this misconception going around that if you don't hit submit in September, you might as well not apply. I don't know where that came from. I certainly didn't say that. I help students apply in a variety of months. Let me tell you, I did not apply in September. I went to Harvard Law School. I get students into Harvard Law School every year. They don't all apply in September. In fact, most of my students don't apply in September. Maybe late September, but a lot of my students hit submit in September. I have students that go to every kind of school, right? The top schools, the not top schools, regional schools, HBCU schools. I mean, you got to go to the law school that's the best fit. It's not about rankings or prestige. It's about what's going to help you with your career. But the unifying factor is that none of these schools require you to hit submit in September. And especially, even if you're looking at the very top schools, right? First off, Yale, there is no demonstrable difference if you apply in September or November because they have a special reading process. Okay. Harvard also reads at certain times. They're not gonna read in September. They're not doing that. So it's the same, right? Now, are there schools that read in September? Yes, there are schools that read in September. There are some schools that read incredibly fast. There's some schools that read really slow. Do you have the best chance for scholarship money and acceptance if you apply early in the cycle? Absolutely. Early in the cycle is still defined as September and October, and depending on the school, first couple weeks in November, right? Before Thanksgiving, generally speaking. Because the majority, the plurality of applicants to law school actually apply in November. So that's kind of where this early cycle comes from, right? Early just means before most people. Most people apply to law school between November and January. So early is all of September and all of October. Now, the October LSAT score release is October 23rd, which means that if all of your application materials are done by the time you get your scores, you too can submit in October and be early. So this thought that October is too late is, I don't know where that came from. You're still definitely early. Now, August is great because you get your scores back in September and, you're just one less thing to worry about. But October is great too. And you want to think about the difference in your LSAT score. If you know you can score 5 points higher by taking October, listen, that's a no-brainer. Take October. Now, moving into this second point about, the difference between the August, the September, the August, the October, and the November LSAT. August, of course, like I said, beautiful, excellent, early, all the good things. October, still early, still great. November. I don't love it if your plan is to take the November LSAT. Because as I expressed in the beginning of the video, we make plans and God laughs. That's just kind of how life is. So I think if you plan to take August, you might find yourself also taking October. If you plan to take October, I want you to be careful that you don't end up pushing your first sit date to November, because then you enter into a slippery slope. If you plan to take November, I want you to be very sure about your LSAT score. I mean, your prep needs to be beautiful. Your prep needs to be so locked down. You need to be I am taking my practice tests every week. I am scoring in my range. I know what I'm going to get in November. I have a quiet place to study, a quiet place to test. I've been taking practice tests at the same time. I, have great internet. I've tested my computer. You want everything to be locked down, because here's the problem. If you plan to take November and something happens, you don't do as well, you get in a fight with your boyfriend the night before, there's construction at your house the day of the LSAT, whatever, and you don't do as well as you want. Now you are taking the January LSAT, and we are in a completely different ballgame. Because now you're really no longer even going to be on time, especially for selective schools. Now you're applying late in the cycle, just like that. So it's tricky, right? The issue with November isn't even so much when you get your scores. You'll be on time. You won't be as early, but you'll be on time. And for some schools, you will probably still be a little bit on the early side. Not for all schools, but lower in the rankings, it'd still be a little okay, depending. It's always better to apply early. It's always better to apply in September and October. But if you have to apply in November, you have to apply in November. I mean, that's okay, right? Life happens. My issue with November is that the rate that people end up pushing their test to the next test date, the rate that people end up wanting to retake for the next test date, the rate that something happens that you weren't expecting and you end up having to take it for the next test date is high. It's just high. It happens to so many of my students. I mean, I want to say probably close to 30-40% of my students, maybe even more than that, end up pushing their test date or taking an additional test date that they didn't anticipate. And so if your first test date is November, I don't want you taking the January LSAT. I mean, I did a video on this last year. I'll probably do a video on this coming year about the January LSAT. There are very few reasons and very few circumstances. There are some, but not everyone, right? There are few circumstances with the January LSAT I feel comfortable with you taking. I don't know if you're going to fall into one of those categories. We'll talk about it when we get there. But for most people, it's just better that if you're now thinking about submitting your applications in January, God forbid in February, I don't think anyone should submit applications in February, 0 people. It's just, you're always going to have had a better application cycle in September than in February. And by the time you're trying to submit in February, I want you to really consider whether or not waiting an extra year and just applying in September is not your best option. I'm always telling you, don't make long-term decisions based off short-term emotions. And when we start kicking into January and February, that's when we start to have those conversations about waiting. But, I don't want you to go into that, with that hanging over you, right? Okay, now I have to take the January LSAT. But if we back it up back to the October LSAT, if you take the October LSAT and something, heaven forbid, goes wrong and you have to take the November LSAT, like I said, I want it to be your last time taking it. But if you're someone who's been studying this whole time and you've pushed from August to October, and you know in October you're going to be ready, you're going to crush it, you're going to kill the competition, then October is totally fine. Like I said, you'll get your score back October 23rd, you'll hit submit, easy day. You have still won. You're still doing a great job. So I really don't want anyone to stress about having to take October. And that brings me to that third thing. What should you be thinking about? What do you need to keep in mind if you take the October LSAT? And it's some of those things that I was saying about the November LSAT. So if you are taking the October LSAT, I want you to ensure that you are going to be prepared, because we start to get on a really slippery slope here. Okay? Ensure that you're going to be prepared. Ensure that you are taking practice tests. It is the end of August. If you haven't started taking practice tests regularly, you should probably be taking at least one a week from now until October. All right? I want you studying 3 to 4 hours a day. I want you really giving this your all. You have some time. You have time to make great score improvements, time to, get that extra 5 points or whatever it is that you're looking for, but you need to grind it out. These next 2 months are the grind. Okay? Like, this is like your life right now. It's your priority. On top of that, if you are taking the October LSAT, what I don't want you to do is only do LSAT and not work on your essays. Listen to me carefully. It takes about 2 months to write strong and compelling essays for your law school applications, your personal statement, your diversity statement, your optional essays, your resume, your, all those things, and the addendum that you need to write. I mean, it's going to take you more than a month to write good ones. It's going to take you about 2 months. We just talked about timing. If you wait to take the October LSAT and then say, I think I'm going to start my essays now, you're not going to be able to hit submit with any kind of good quality in November. Now you're looking at submitting in the beginning of December. But right now it's August. And if you were to start your essays right now and create a schedule, and some of you may need to shift some things around if you're just getting started, but if you need to create a schedule for your LSAT studying for the next 2 months so you can take October, and your essays, you can still hit submit. 2 months from now would make it October 20th, right? Your scores come out on the 23rd. Get your application materials done, get your score, boom, hit submit October 24th, right? Applications open on September 1st. So you have no excuse, and you have plenty of time to also be working on your applications, but you need to be smart about it. You need to make a plan. Yes, I know. I've said the entire video that plans often don't go as we hoped. But you still need to make a plan. Because trust me, a plan that does not go as well is better than no plan at all. Because no plan at all is going to lead you submitting in January or February or something crazy. Okay, so you need to make a plan. How are you writing your essays? What kind of guidance are you getting on your essays? This Saturday, I'm actually leading a free workshop, a free personal statement workshop. The link is in the description below. Come, hang out with me. It's 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Completely free. I'm going to walk you through the 3 things that you absolutely need to do if you want to write a winning personal statement. I have issues with my W's and R's. It's a little bit of a problem from my childhood. But you want to come and hang out with me, and I'm going to teach you, I'm going to break down, how to be focused. I'm going to break down how to have structure, how to be multifaceted, how to not center your trauma, how to make sure that your statement is strong. This is for you even if you are just thinking about law school and you haven't written anything. If you have not started, I'm looking at you. Let me know in the comments. Have you started your essays yet? Look at your friend. If you have a friend that's applying to law school, have they started their essays yet? This needs to be the biggest PSA announcement that you can think of. Start your essays. Start your essays, okay? It's time. It's time to start your essays. So if you haven't started your essays and you know that you need to start your essays, I need to see you on Saturday. Come hang out with me. I'll answer all of your questions about your personal statement. We will talk through how to make it strong. And even if you've started your personal statement, but you're not really sure it is strong enough, it's what they're looking for, come. Let's talk about it. Okay? If you stay till the end of the workshop on Saturday, which is only an hour, 1 hour of your time, I will give you the slides to my presentation so that you have it. I just want to help you. Yeah? So you put it in your calendars, take 1 hour. Let's start your essays, because you need to be doing that. You need to make a plan for your essays, for all of your essays, for your entire application process, and you need to have a plan for your LSAT. If you are thinking about taking the October LSAT, absolutely okay. Nothing wrong with that. If you are not feeling like August was your best shot and you know you have more in you, a high LSAT score is always worth, between August and October, a higher LSAT score is always worth taking it later. Listen, I've said this a million times today. October is still early in the cycle. Do not let anyone tell you differently. Do not let anyone put that stress on you, okay? People will want to stress you out. The internet will stress you out. Reddit will stress you out, okay? Don't be stressed. Listen to facts. You're going to be okay. You do not need to have an unreasonably aggressive timeline for yourself. You do not need to be unreasonably strict or hard on yourself or beat yourself up about the timing. You have plenty of time. I want you to operate in the cycle from an abundance mindset, not a mindset of lack. I don't want you to think, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough guidance. That's a place of lack. I want you to operate from an abundance mindset. You have all that you need. You have everything that you need to be successful. You have enough time. You have more than enough time. You have all of the guidance that you need. If you don't have my free 62-page guide on how to apply to law school, it's free. You have it. If you're not in my free Facebook group where you can ask questions, it's free. Come join us. If you're not coming to my free workshop on Saturday where I'm going to help you with your personal statement, listen, it's free. You have all the guidance that you need. And there's also so many ways that you can work with me if that's something that you're looking for, whether it's hourly services, whether it's a boot camp, whether it's private packages, or whether it's my personal statement course that you can do completely on your own pace. And even though it's on its own pace, it does come with some feedback. We'll give you feedback on your outline and on your draft. So, listen, you have an abundance of options here. You have everything you need to be successful this cycle. Even if you're taking the October LSAT, you have an abundance of time to raise your LSAT score. Yeah, I want you to operate with confidence, operate in power. You are in charge. You are in control of this process. The process is not in control of you. The LSAT is not in control of you. You have everything you need to be successful. So I hope this was helpful to you. Make sure that you share this video with a friend. Make sure that you rate and review, like and subscribe. We are going to do questions and then I will pray us out. Actually, we had some questions submitted. I like to remind you, although most of you do not, but you can always submit questions at bit.ly/breakintolawschool. I will answer your questions completely for free. This is what I said. You have an abundance of guidance. So take advantage of all these opportunities. I'm also going to check to see if we have questions down below, and then I will pray us out. So let's see. Ooh, someone said that my essays are done. I am very proud of you. Yes. Congratulations. Someone said that they wanted to stop by and say thank you. They've been following me for a while, and they can confidently say that my platform has contributed to their success so far. Thank you so much for that, Kayla. Question, does LSAC allow you to start applications and save them before submitting? Yes. You do not have to do the whole application in one sitting. So you can open them, you can see what the questions are, because some of them will have like little short answers or, other little things that you may have questions about. So you can look at them and you can save them and you can come back to them. You don't have to do it all in one sitting. Okay, I'm going to pull up the question that I know that we had. I have two monitors, so bear with me. like I said, anytime you want, you can always submit questions to bit.ly/breakintolawschool. Okay, so one of the questions that we had for today, I plan on taking the October and January LSAT for this cycle. Is it feasible to apply after receiving my January LSAT results if I want merit-based scholarships from law school? So basically, will law schools need my LSAT score? I have all my materials ready, including letters of recommendations, personal statements, resume, YX school statements, and a credential assembly service GPA of 3.75. First off, you are very prepared. I am very proud of you. That's amazing. I am planning to submit all of my application materials before October, but I have been prepping on and off since this January. So in June, I started intense prepping, so I feel okay regarding October. I am a non-traditional underrepresented minority with an extensive GPA, or an extensive resume, and an undergraduate GPA of 3.9. I appreciate any help that you can give. First off, thank you so much for submitting this question and for providing so much detail. That was really helpful. So you sound like you're prepared for October. So let's just start there. You sound like you're prepared for October. So take the October LSAT. Now, one of the things, or the reasons why I think you might be saying October and January is because you have to register for the November LSAT before you will actually get your October LSAT score. However, the way to do this is not to plan for October and January. That's just, it sounds like your application is very strong, and it would be a complete shame for you to wait until January to apply. What I would do is I would register for October and November. And if you don't need the November test, you can cancel it. Now, yes, of course, you may lose some money, and this whole process is absurdly expensive, so I understand why you may not want to do that. However, if you have been preparing for so long, and your GPA is high, and you have all your essays done, what I would suggest for you to do is plan to take October and register for the November test. Now, there are some things that you can do. If you take October and it feels good to you and you want to submit, you have, the schools operate in two different ways. So there are some schools where if you submit your application with an LSAT score, even if you're registered for November, they will read your application. Now, here's the, risky part of that. Let's say you got a 157 and you feel good about it, but you really want a 160. If you apply in, October, let's say you apply on Halloween with your 157, you're registered for November, there are some schools that are just going to read your application with the 157. And they may make a decision on your application before you take the November LSAT. So if your plan was, you'll take the November LSAT and they'll see a higher score, well, listen, they may make a decision before you even get that score. There are some schools, however, that will not read your application if they see that you're sitting for another LSAT exam. So what I would recommend doing is reaching out to admissions. We talk a lot about building relationships with admissions here. I have a video on it that I released a couple weeks ago. Definitely check it out. But what I would say is reach out to admissions, see what they would suggest you do. Now, a lot of times you can ask them to hold your application. You can say, I'm applying now, but I'd like you to hold my application for a November LSAT score. Will they read your application? No. However, they will read your application before they read other people's applications who took November and then hit submit, because, they'll get your score and you're already kind of be at the top of the pile. So that is one way of doing that. And last year, actually, there were a number of admissions committee members and officers who did suggest to students that they applied and asked the school to hold their application for a November score. That way, as soon as the score is released, the school will have it, and you will get your application read a little bit faster than if you were to wait to apply till after November. That's an option. But you can also wait to apply till after November. Totally fine. But I think in your case, in no scenario should you be waiting until January or planning for January. I mean, January, you should only take the January LSAT if, something burned, like your LSAT or your computer burned down on November and maybe October. Then you can take January. But you seem very prepared. You seem like your application materials are ready to go. I see no reason for you to wait till January to take the LSAT, take October, register for November, and see what you need. Now listen, if you take October and you come back and your score is like beautiful, you surprise yourself with that 170, go ahead and cancel the November test, hit submit. Easy day. Yes, you'll be out some money, but it will be definitely worth it for that peace of mind. So hopefully that helped answer your question. Like I said, I love answering your questions. You can always reach me at bit.ly/breakintolawschool, or you can just shoot me an email at sydney@smontgomeryconsulting.com. Would love to meet you and learn where you are in the application cycle. If there are no other questions, I will pray us out, and then I will let you guys go for the rest of your Friday and your weekend, except I hope to see most of you tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. for my free personal statement workshop, where we're going to just get it together. We're going to get it together. All right, dear Heavenly Father, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this day, for bringing us together. Thank you for reminding us that you're in charge, that we may make plans, but ultimately you are in charge, and that your plans are greater than our plans. So I ask that you would just bring some peace and calm to our anxiety, because a lot of us, including myself, are feeling a lot of anxiety about so many things right now. And so I ask that you would come in and remind us that we should be anxious in nothing, but go to you in prayer for everything. Philippians 4:6 said that if we come to you in prayer with thanksgiving, supplication, you will answer us. You hear our hearts, you hear the desires of our hearts, and you grant them. And you told us that if we have faith, even as small as a mustard seed, we can move mountains. So I'm asking that you would move mountains in our life today. I'm asking that you give us the confidence to make bold prayers and bold requests to you, that we trust you completely with this process, that we would be able to give it to you and stop trying to do everything in our own strength, but rely on you and where our strength comes from, because our strength comes from the Lord. I ask that you would be with us in these decisions that we're making, the decisions on when to take the test, the decisions on when to hit submit, the decisions on how we're going to get guidance on our essays, the decision on how we're going to best prep for the LSAT, if we're going to take a course, if we're going to get a study book, if we're going to get a tutor, that you are with us and giving us your discerning wisdom in all of these decisions and guiding us to where we need to go and putting the people in place so that we can be most successful, because you have called us for something greater and you've called us for something higher. And I know that you would not have given us this call and desire on our heart without also giving us the support and the tools and the resources to be successful. So I thank you in advance for illuminating those resources for us and giving us clarity on our purpose and path and clarity on where we're supposed to go. I ask that you would block all of the noise, the distractions, the words and the lies that come over us, the lies that we believe that if we don't hit submit in September, we shouldn't be a lawyer, the lies that say that if we can't handle the application process with our life, we won't be able to handle law school, the lies that say that this path of being a lawyer is too hard and we won't be able to do it, the lies that say that we're not ready, the lies that say that we're not good enough, the lies that say that we don't have everything that we need. I ask that you would just come against all those lies. I rebuke those lies right now in the name of Jesus, dear Heavenly Father, and I ask that you would replace those lies with the truth, because your word has already given us promises and your word has already given us the hope that we need to be successful, that we already have enough, that we have more than enough, that in fact you have given us life and life abundantly. So I ask that you would remind us to have an abundance mindset in everything that we do. When those lies creep in, that you would replace them with the fact that we are the head and not the tail, that you have called us to be kings and queens, that you have called us to do great things, that we are more than enough, that you are more than a conqueror, dear Heavenly Father, that in you we have strength and that we can do all things through Christ. So I ask that you would just remind us of those promises and those truths when we start to believe some of the lies that the world will tell us. That you will be with us in this journey every single step of the way, every single day, every single hour. That we are not alone in any part of this. I thank you so much for this space and this moment and this time and these your children. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So guys, thank you so much for just another amazing Friday. I love spending my Fridays with you. I love getting to meet you and know you, so definitely reach out to me. Make sure that you subscribe to the Break Into Law School podcast, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and follow us at S. Montgomery Consulting. You never know. I like to give giveaways out on the Instagram and out on the Facebook, so make sure you're connected. And I will see all of you very, very soon.